All right, take two. So tonight was a night of many goals, many, and a home team wearing white, which throws me off and causes me to go, wait, were they at home? Were they on the road? Yes, they were at home. They were at home. They were at home. But we'll get to that. And keep in mind that the preview for tomorrow's games will go up tonight because we've got a couple of games at 10 o'clock in the morning my time. We've got one at 11 o'clock in the morning my time, which means the reviews tomorrow will be split. There'll be the review for the matinee games and then the review for the later games. There's 3 matinee games and then there's 10 later games. So there's 13 altogether tomorrow. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy day for me and should be a fun one for hockey fans everywhere. But tonight, it was not a fun night for Dallas fans. So if you're all excited about last night over Tampa, tonight you go into Florida, and this is not great. And I know people are going to say, well, it's the second half of a back-to-back. And then the thing that drives me completely mental, which is when a team is absolutely getting killed on the scoreboard, and then the score kind of gets more respectable, and so fans could say, well, they won the third period. Well, yeah, but they made it respectable. They didn't. I don't want that. I don't want that narrative coming out of this. This was an absolute, complete and utter destruction of the Dallas Stars, their defense and their goaltending. Ben Bishop, let's be honest, Ben Bishop, not their entire goaltending, just Ben Bishop. And this was insane. Game 1,000 for Joe Pavelski. So that's a positive coming into this game. The Panthers get an early power play, and they took advantage. Huberdeau scored from Barkov and Yandel at 4:37, and all I could think was, didn't I worry in the preview this morning that Barkov could get some points? And I thought, well, yeah, but Dallas's goaltending and defense have been pretty good, so maybe he won't get... The Panthers almost scored again shortly thereafter. Stralman and Vetrano both missed empty nets. They both had fantastic chances and missed them wide, which is weird because Vetrano, most of his goals seem to be empty netters, so I don't know. Bishop denied the Panthers in close. I thought Bishop looked pretty good early because the Panthers were out shooting them. And then Gurianov scores from Perry and Klingberg at 13:10, and it's like, all right, here we go. Dallas is in this. And a minute and a half later, they weren't. Stralman scores to make up for that empty net he missed from Vetrano, who also made up for the empty net he missed. And the second assist goes to Barkov because, of course, it does. And that way he had 2 helpers tonight, and they're up 2-1 after 1. Second period, Trocheck scored from Huberdeau and Achari at 1:21. That was very lazy defense by the Dallas Stars that led to that goal. Bishop ends up not playing the whole game. I am not going to put this on Bishop. I'm not even going to come close to putting this on Bishop. This is not Ben Bishop's fault. That being said, Sevier would score from Toninato at 2:52. And Sevier on the board, and then Achari gets a goal to go with his assist from Trocheck and Huberdeau at 7:26, and they liked that combination so much they did it again 30 seconds later. Achari with 2 goals and an assist at that point. So Bishop comes out, Hudobin goes in. Hudobin, who faced 48 shots last night, gets to go in net tonight because he can't have nice things. And not long thereafter, Dallas gets a power play. They're down 6-1. They're not going to score. But what they can do is cause their goaltender to have to face a penalty shot shorthanded. So Achari gets the natural hat trick, his second hat trick in 2 games. Shorthanded goal, and that's a penalty shot at 11:25. And all I can think is, it's a shame Boston couldn't have kept Achari because I like Achari. I've always liked Noel Achari. And here we are. No defensive effort by the Stars. This was an embarrassment. And yet, by the end of the game, you're looking at the shots and going, but the shots were pretty close. No. These were prime opportunities. A lot of these goals are prime opportunities right in front. And we'll get to another game where we saw both teams committing those errors. But this was October defense. Now, this is where, for the optimists in the Dallas crowd, you say, yes, but Sagan scored from Lindell and Hintz at 16:38. That's a power play goal. Their power play didn't suck tonight. And in the third period, first you got Sagan from Pavelski at 7:03. Then you got Ben from Heiskanen and Perry at 13:02. So Perry gets a couple of helpers. Heiskanen's on the board. Ben and Sagan both got goals. And remember, Radulov wasn't playing tonight, to which I answer, bollocks. This is just, no, they were behind 7-1. So anybody who wants to make the argument that at least they made it 7-4, no. I can't get there with you. I cannot share that optimism. Yes, they've proven they can score over their last couple of games. This doesn't make me overly happy. So Dallas, I don't know what to make of them right now. They had the big win over Tampa last night. They get absolutely drilled tonight. This reminds me of the back-to-back problem that Toronto's been having all year, and this is a major problem. The difference is for Toronto, they have Hutchinson. They can go, well, that's Hutchinson. That's not us. That's Hutchinson, which is also bollocks. But I get it. I totally get it. I don't think Toronto played particularly well in those games, but in this instance, it's Bishop saving 14 out of 20. Hudobin saved 12 out of 13 in the Dallas net after he went in. The only one he allowed was the short-handed penalty shot goal. Power plays, 1 for 3 for Dallas, 1 for 4 for Florida. Bobrovsky saves 27 out of 31. Your 3 stars are Achari, of course. Natural hat trick and an assist. So, 6 goals in the last 2 games. I guess he's going to try to get to 50. Huberdeau with the 2nd star and Pavelski 3rd star in game number 1000. And even though he gets a helper tonight, this is probably a game he's going to want to forget. This was not a great game. And I would give real money to know Perry was in... Corey Perry was having a little chat with Bobrovsky, and Bobrovsky had a big smile on his face. I would love to know what was said in between them, because Perry didn't look happy and Bobrovsky was having a good laugh, and that was when it was 7-1. So I thought that would probably have been an interesting conversation to have heard what was said. Shots were 15-7 in the first in favor of Florida. Second period, 15-9 in favor of Dallas. Both teams had 9 shots in the third, so the shots are 33-31 for Florida. I'd be interested to know how many of them were really, really close to the net. I'm not just talking like scoring chances. Scoring chances are whatever. I'm talking about like right in the middle, right in front of the goaltender. That basically I can't say anything with Bishop. I think his defense left him hung out to dry. And I think by that fourth goal, I think he was just really, really frustrated. But who can blame him? Who could blame him at all? All right, moving along. Got to move along. Washington in against the New Jersey Devils. Capitals wearing their reds. New Jersey wearing their white alternate thirds. I love those jerseys. They have a lousy record wearing those thirds. Absolutely. I don't think they've won a game wearing that third jersey, which is a shame because it looks really nice and it would be wonderful to do a review where I'm wearing it. I don't think they've won a game wearing them. They get an early power play, though, and Palmieri scores from Hischier and Subban at 4 minutes. So the nice white jerseys, the throwback to the 80s that it is, Subban gets on the board. He gets his first point in 22 games. Let's have a parade of some sort for PK Subban, right? The shots, though, were 6-3 for the Caps at around the 8-minute mark. The Capitals were getting a lot of chances, and they didn't seem to get frustrated at any point tonight when they fell behind. Blackwood was preserving the lead as the Capitals pushed. There was a late power play for the Devils, wouldn't score, and then Ovechkin would score from Backstrom and Wilson at 18:25. Kuznetsov then almost made it 2-1. Kuznetsov likely made some people nervous. And then Backstrom scored from Karlsson and Wilson at 19:35, so Kuznetsov doesn't get one, but Backstrom does. In the last minute of the first, and he liked it so much, it's not the last time we'll talk about it in this review. Second period, the Devils pushed early. Samsonov was holding pretty well until Coleman scores from Gusev at 4:15. So, Devils are in this, and you could feel the crowd really wanted to see something big. This was their chance that for the first time this year, they could get their 3rd win in a row. And it's a small bar. You can sort of like it's steeplechase for beginners, right? You can just sort of it's not really a big high bar they have to jump over, and yet they tripped on it tonight. Eventually the Devils have to get 3 wins in a row at some point in their schedule. They got a power play shortly after Ovechkin broke his stick on a slap shot, and that one was labeled. If he'd contacted with that, I think that was going in the net. The Capitals got a turn with the power play after the Devils failed. Great chance by Wood that just missed. Wood's having a good run right now. And then he kind of got run. Sort of. Hathaway ends up getting into it with him. And then Simmons comes in and helps pin him down. It was weird. I'm like, wait, are there 2 guys from the Devils and 1 guy from the Cap? Oh, it's Hathaway. Okay. So as soon as everybody got him, I'm like, oh, it's Hathaway. All right, makes sense. He has a way of getting under the skin of the opposition, to which I'm sure Tom Wilson goes, yes, it's not just me. So you don't just have to worry about Wilson with the Capitals now. Now you got Hathaway too. Backstrom would score again in the last minute, this time from Orlov and Ovechkin at 19:31. So Ovechkin with a couple of points tonight. And Backstrom, that's point number 899 in his career. Going into the third period. Early in the third, first minute, Karlsson from Kempny and Backstrom. Now, interestingly enough, that's the 900th point of Backstrom's career in the 900th game he's played with Alex Ovechkin. So there's a nice synergy there, and that's not a coincidence that he scores a lot. And it's not a coincidence either that Ovechkin gets a lot of goals playing on a line with Backstrom. This is a mutually beneficial relationship, sort of like Draisaitl and McDavid in Edmonton. Now, they weren't done. Siegenthaler scores from Gudas and Dowd at 6:53. Panik would add one from Eller and Hagelin at 15:33. And then in the last minute, New Jersey makes it respectable. It's Wood from Severson at 19:37. Your final score in this one is 6-3 in favor of the Capitals. Now, in this game, Samsonov saves 24 out of 27. Blackwood saves 21 out of 26, and he got pulled. So I paused to go and look at the reasoning behind him getting pulled. Now, Gilles Sen went in. He saved 2 out of 3 after he went in the net. The reasoning behind pulling him was to keep him fresh for their next game. Nesradine saying this has nothing to do with Blackwood's play tonight. I agree. Blackwood was the reason this thing was tied early in the second. When things got out of control, I didn't think it was Blackwood either. So it wasn't anything physical, and it wasn't anything where the coach said, anything about his game. This is just to keep him fresh for the next game. It's one of those preserving him things. Backstrom, Karlsson, and Ovechkin are your 3 stars. That's the 3-headed beast that is the Washington Capitals. Power plays 0 for 1 for the Caps, 1 for 3 for the New Jersey Devils. Shots were 11-6 Washington in the first, 12-11 Washington in the second, 10-6 for New Jersey in the third. Final shots 29-27 in favor of Washington. But the overall play favored Washington more than the shots are telling you, in my eyes anyways. And so New Jersey is back to the drawing board. The good news is the Capitals are arguably because we won't all agree on this, arguably the best team in the league. So losing to them is not anything to be overly ashamed of. But they do have some work to do, those Devils. But they knew that coming into tonight's game anyways. All right, moving along. Toronto. Big win tonight. It's a big win. And an impressive one over a Rangers team that was playing well. Not fantastic, but well. Now, first minute, the Rangers get a power play. And at that point, you're like, uh-oh. But the penalty kill would hold. And it held all night tonight for Toronto. Kapanen would end up hitting the post after they killed that penalty. Georgiev stopped Tavares, and Georgiev's been playing well lately. But tonight, not his best game, but he did face a ton of shots as well. Engvall scores from Hall and Mikheyev at 9:38. Nylander would score from Kapanen at 11:52, and the Leafs were up 11-4 in shots 13.5 minutes into this game. They just kept buzzing the other end. However, they are a tricky team, those Leafs. Hard to figure out. Shea scores from Zibanejad and Kreider at 14:04, and it was one of those plays that just kind of out of nowhere, they score. And then Strome gets his first goal in 16 games. It's assisted by Panarin and Buchnevich at 17:51. And I know Rangers fans have been excited about Strome. He had 9 assists in his previous 13 games. But he hasn't been scoring as well as he did early in the year. Early in the year, it was kind of crazy. And it has tapered off somewhat. I know his play is really good. It's just maybe tonight we've seen his goal scoring get back on track. So it's 2-2 after 1, and you feel like maybe the Leafs blew this. And that was the thought that I had. The Rangers now, they've come back and they get some confidence. But second period, the Leafs got a power play early, and then they got a minute and 39 of 5-on-3. And the penalty kill wears down, right? So Marner scores from Matthews and Nylander at 2:50. And that is a power play goal. But less than 3 minutes later, Buchnevich scores from Stahl and DeAngelo at 5:27. So again, it ties it up. They are unable to make that lead last in the first or in the second period. But Engvall is making the argument that he needs to stay up. So in the event that the Leafs get everybody healthy, I'm not sure you can justify sending Engvall down, because he's been an excellent energy forward that can also chip in some offense for them. I'm not sure how this is going to work when everybody's healthy. Georgiev then denied Nylander. The Leafs got a late power play. They wouldn't score on it. But in the third period, here we go. William Nylander gets a goal from Matthews at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So Matthews came into this game with 5 goals in his last 5 games. Tonight he gets a couple of assists. And for Nylander, he gets a couple of goals. He gets an assist as well. So pretty good night for him. Then Marner, 47 seconds later, scores. And it's a multiple point game for him. And it is a 5-3 lead. And then I put up here, Leafs just need to defend this. They need to defend this properly. Now the Rangers got a power play. They wouldn't score on it. But this is where it becomes obvious to me. Both teams tonight were committing a lot of turnovers in their own zone. And they pointed out a couple by the Leafs, and I thought, yeah, no, that's bad. And then you see a bunch by the Rangers, too, and it's like, what is going on with these two defensive units that they're turning the puck over so much? So it makes for an exciting game if you're a fan. And then I missed this one. Mikheyev scores from Kerfoot at 16:23. So, sorry, that one's not on the board. Many apologies. I got the score right, though, 6-3. So that's a bonus, right? Yeah. My board game, I guess, a little bit off today. These things happen. But yeah, Mikheyev scores from Kerfoot. So Mikheyev, he also had an assist earlier, so goal and an assist for him. And for Kerfoot, nice to see him get on the board as well. Your final 6-3. Anderson saves 19 out of 22. Georgiev saves 34 out of 40. Anderson will get his first night off in 10 games tomorrow night against the Detroit Red Wings. Hutchinson's back in, and I think this is Hutchinson's last chance. If he struggles in said game against the Detroit Red Wings, that could be it for him at the NHL level. And then they look in another direction. And I don't say that based on any kind of knowledge of insiders. Just that's kind of the way it works. If your goaltender can't get a win, you got to fix it. Nylander, Marner, and Matthews are your 3 stars tonight. So perfect if you're a big fan of the Leafs. Those are the 3 names you want to see on the list. Power plays 1 for 3 for Toronto, 0 for 3 for the Rangers. Shots 12-8 for Toronto in the first, 13-4 Toronto in the second, 15-10 Toronto in the third. Final shots 40-22 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Excellent road game. The whole game I kept thinking this is a really, really solid road game by Toronto. And last but not least, well, I picked Edmonton this morning, didn't I? I really thought Edmonton had a chance in this. And then Pittsburgh won their 6th straight time in Edmonton. I even had the blue third knowing. It's a Friday night. They're going to be wearing their blue thirds. I'm going to match. I did. Now, for people who follow Jillian Fisher on Twitter, she was there tonight at the game. She was in the Calgary game as well for the Pittsburgh meeting there. I don't know if she's going to be in Vancouver tomorrow night for that game. But so far, Pittsburgh's going to consider her a good omen to have around because they've won both games. And tonight, it was a good start for the Oilers. They were up 4-1 in shots 5 minutes into this thing. And they looked pretty good. And then Ruhwedel scores from Cahoon and Aston Reese at 7:56. The Oilers get a power play. Here's their chance. Not only did they not score on the power play, but when Blandisi comes out of the penalty box, Aston Reese gives him a pass, and he went out on the breakaway and he scored. Pettersson was also given a second assist on that later on. So at 12:56, it's 2-0 for Pittsburgh. And the bad news was Edmonton had outplayed Pittsburgh. And this is where, if you're not a Mike Smith fan, you can point to tonight's game and say, early in the game when we needed saves here, we weren't getting him. And then there's people who will defend Smith and say, how is he supposed to stop those two? So you're going to get both. Smith then stopped Bluger, so prevented it from being worse. The Oilers got a late power play. They wouldn't score on that. Their power play didn't click tonight. Second period. And Jari having another pretty darn good game. That being said, 7 minutes and 41 seconds into that period, Zach Kassian, 13th goal of the year from Nurse and Bear. And not a bad goal for him, and it makes it 2-1. It was a deflection, too. And to beat Jari tonight, you kind of needed that. You needed one of those ones that changes direction after the shot so that he's ready for the shot, and then you deflect it so he's not. That's the only way to get it past him tonight. The Penguins were not generating enough shots at that stage in the game, and they really didn't. The Oilers defended them pretty darn well. They really did. They defended them pretty darn well. Jari denied McDavid with around 5 minutes left. The puck goes the other way. And it's McCann. McCann, on a turnover, goes in on a breakaway. And that's his first goal in 11 games. 15 minutes and 38 seconds. McCann gets his 10th of the year. And that makes it 3-1. The Penguins get a power play with 1:10 left. And then the Oilers did something they haven't done all year. They scored a shorthanded goal. Sheahan scores from Archibald at 19:37. So shorthanded goal, 23 seconds left. Here we go. All right, now we're going to do it. This is it. Third period? No. early in that third period, same power play, Letang from Malkin and Rust at 38 seconds, and that pretty much took the oxygen out of the game for the Edmonton Oilers. Larson did hit the post later on. The Penguins got a power play around the halfway mark. The Oilers did get a goal. It was called off for goalie interference, and it's hard to argue that it wasn't goalie interference. I'm not saying penalty level, but definitely incidental goalie interference in the crease. They did pull the goalie with 3:05 left. The Penguins called a timeout with 2:26 left because they'd iced the puck, and the Oilers were anxious for that faceoff because you can't change lines after an icing. So Mike Sullivan rightly called the timeout. That was pretty smart on his behalf. And then they score an empty netter. It's Tanev from Pettersson and Bluger at 17:42. So that makes it 5-2. And then before the game's over, Evgeny Malkin decided, well, we got a couple minutes. I got some time to spare. I'm going to run Mike Smith over. And Smith didn't like it. Malkin takes a goalie interference call. And Smith let him know he was not a big fan of Evgeny Malkin in that moment. Smith's not a goalie you want to necessarily crash into. He will fight back. He is a tough goaltender. And in a game like this where he was likely already kind of mad at the team's performance, his own performance, it's not a time to be crashing him. So your final score is 5-2. Jari saves 26 out of 28. Ho-hum doesn't get in the 3 stars because it's just a standard game for Jari, right? Smith gets 21 saves on 25 shots. 3 stars are Letang, Cassian, and Aston Reese. And if anybody says they're different on the app, I took them straight from Sportsnet. Sportsnet gave them to me, and they're the same ones that were announced at the rink. So usually those are the ones that the app gives you as well. Power plays, Pittsburgh goes 1 for 1. So Edmonton's penalty kill and power play had been amazing, but their power play goes 0 for 3, and their penalty kill goes 0 for 1 as well. So both of them let them down tonight, although they do get the shorthanded goal from Sheahan. So that's a first, and that's good news. Shots were 10-9 for Edmonton in the first, 9-6 Edmonton in the second, 11-9 Pittsburgh in the third. So again, Pittsburgh gets the idea of, hey, we can steal this, and they nail it down in the third period. They keep the puck at the other end often. Final shots 28-26 in favor of the Oilers. And there you go. You guys are all caught up on tonight's games, and Pittsburgh has now won 6 straight in Edmonton. Edmonton doesn't like seeing Pittsburgh come in, and now they're done playing each other. But on the other way of looking at this too, Edmonton did win the matchup in Pittsburgh early in November, so they still split the season series. You guys are all caught up. Remember, the preview will be done tonight as well. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support and for watching. And for people who may not know, on the Entertainment Guy, I posted a review tonight. What we went out and did this morning, we went and watched the Star Wars movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's just it's a movie. It's there. It was a decent enough movie. Was it rushed? Probably. They're all like that. And what we want in terms of this masterpiece, they don't have the time for. They really don't. I feel bad for filmmakers these days where they're expected to come up with, the same quality of a movie you might have been able to make in the 80s, but they have this huge budget now, so they kind of need to use it, and they get kind of rushed. And this is great. I'm glad. You guys are in post now, so why isn't it all done yet? It should be done. Okay, now we want this in 6 months. It's crazy. But that's something totally different, and that's over on the other channel. So thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. It means a ton, and we will be doing the preview before I turn in for the night. Thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you again soon.